Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that each and every one of us is extremely fortunate to be in the same room as an absolute legend. He is a champion and inspiration for us and millions of people around the globe. Let me tell you, Padma Bhushan Pullela Gopichand is now a name synonymous with Indian badminton. A disciple of the famed Prakash Padukone Center of Excellence, Gopichand sir won his first national title in 1996 before going on to win the next 4 in a row. He is the proud recipient of many, many awards, and to tell you a few of them, he's received the Arjuna Award in the year 2000, the Padma Shri Award in the year 2005, the Dronacharya Award in the year 2009, the Padma Bhushan Award in the year 2015, Coach of the Year 2019 at Sports Star Aces Award, Iconic Sports Leader of the Decade by CNBC TV 18, and he has an honorary doctorate by the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. Ladies and gentlemen, with such an amazing profile, please give a huge, magnanimous round of applause for the absolutely amazing inspiration, the phenomenal Pullela Gopichand sir. Everyone, a big round of applause. Let's get everyone on their feet and a standing ovation. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the time out and coming here. You are an absolute inspiration and make every single Indian here proud for what you've done for the sport of badminton and for our country. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being here, sir. How does it feel to be here?
I think it feels really nice. I think, thank you for having me here, and hope we have a good evening.
Thank you so much, sir. We've got 6 amazing startups who came up here and pitched. We're going to go into the awards later on, but everyone's very excited to hear from you. And we're going to invite someone very special. We've got the Vice President and Managing Director of NetApp India, Mr. Ravi Chabria, to take us to the next session. Everyone, a big round of applause for Ravi, sir.
Thank you. Thank
you. And for Gopichand, sir, as well. Please take a seat, sir.
Maybe some water if you want. Little overwhelmed, not exactly sure where I'm going to start. I think there's about a half a dozen people over here that would kill to be standing where I am, sitting where I am. And I think I'm reminded, sir, you don't know us very well. We all know you exceptionally well. And I'm reminded that I saw you at a small gathering earlier where you were in a similar situation. Someone else had this chair. That's the day I determined I will have this chair someday. So my day has come. Thank you. Thank you. I think that was an amazing introduction, but I think the introduction doesn't do exactly justice. I look at your journey, and your journey is really the journey of Indian badminton. I mean, in a country that's just cricket obsessed to a fault, where badminton was, I think, maybe number 20, they say. I think you've got it on the map. It's number 2. I'll also say this. The number 1 appreciated facility for NetApp at our campus in Bangalore is the badminton court. You can't imagine what a big deal this is for us. Thank you. So I'd like to start not so much with a question. There's a number of people that are going to line up and ask questions too, but there are maybe 3 or 4 things I'll have you talk to us about. And I think where better to start than your journey and what you've done for badminton. So if you can just kind of, I've heard you before, but I think there's a number of people that would love to hear from you.
Yeah, for me, I think I'll take this step in two ways. Because very recently I had to answer a question on Indian badminton, and I was reminded of this journey, or to recap this journey. For me, as you said, Indian badminton was probably 20th on that list. Right about 1990, 91, that's when I first played my first international competition. That's in 1991. Although for us, Prakash Padukone, Prakash sir had won the All England in 1980. A lot of things had changed between then and 90, almost in a decade's time. Somehow we just could not think that badminton could, or badminton players could play that level. So in 1991 and 92, around that time, badminton was removed from the list of priority games by the government of India. So there is a priority A list, B list, And then badminton was removed out of those lists and was delegated down. And the worst of it was in 1994 at the Commonwealth Games, Indian badminton team wasn't sent to Commonwealth Games in Auckland because they felt that Indian badminton did not have a chance to be among the top 6 nations of the Commonwealth.
God.
So that is where Indian badminton or myself had started off to start with. Compare that to 2022 when we are actually the world champions, so to say, by the Thomas Cup win. That's the kind of transformation Indian badminton has had. So I've been, I would really look at this is what Indian badminton's transformation has been. For me personally, I never looked at it that way because for me, my very getting into sport was only by chance. And as you rightly said, I think cricket was back then, 1985 is when I started thinking of sport, or rather, not professional sport, but when I was going to school and stuff. After the 1983 World Cup, we were all inspired to be cricketers. And I was also the same in my apartment in Hyderabad. My father worked in a bank, so we moved from Orissa to Chennai to Hyderabad, to Prakasham district in Andhra to Hyderabad when we were in 6th class. So I was playing cricket and I broke a few window panes and my neighbors complained. And my mother took me to the stadium and I wanted to be a cricketer. And I didn't have admissions in cricket. They didn't have admissions in cricket. So the next sport they took me to was the tennis court. Because back then there were only 2 sports. Thanks to television, we could see Wimbledon. So tennis was the next sport. We went and came out, and I didn't know then, but years later my parents told me that they decided against tennis because there were too many cars parked outside. So they thought it was a rich man's sport, so let's not pick it up. And then the badminton court was empty. So I just went into the badminton court and started playing because it was empty. So I'm a great believer that it's destiny that took me there. The second thing which also happened was, as all Telugu kids, we had only 2 professions. Either you're an engineer or a doctor.
Like most of the countries are.
Yeah, so either you're an engineer or going to school. I also was doing maths, physics, and chemistry in my 11th and 12th. And I was also in that path. So sport was there, but it was not really a career option. So eventually you would play till 10th or 12th, get an engineering seat, get a sports quota, and then join engineering. So that was what typically everybody's path was. To add to my problems, my brother went to IIT.
Okay.
So I wrote my engineering exam. Luckily, I failed.
Okay. Luckily for us too, I think. Yes, and for badminton.
And for badminton. So I randomly wrote my exams with multiple choice. I got 45 was the pass mark. I got 38. Thankfully, I didn't get through. So my parents said, you get another year to play sport. If you win, you continue playing. At the national level, if you win, you continue playing. Otherwise, you stop and we will somehow get you into engineering, well, that's what's important. Luckily, that year I won the junior nationals. That was the year 1991. I played for India at a test match against Malaysia. Most importantly, I got a job in Tata Steel.
Super.
And that was literally the beginning of my badminton career.
Awesome.
So for me to think that, today that this is the way I wanted to architect Indian badminton, I think is very unfair to say, because every step I took, I could see the next was possible. You needed to put a little more work into it. And then that's how I achieved. So 1991, 92, 93 were great years. I was starting to become the number one player in the country, started to travel abroad and participate in tournaments. And then we had a tough times, just to put things in perspective a little bit. Today, when we look at sport, we talk about physiologists, psychologists,
Yes.
nutrition, physiotherapy, sports science. This is what we talk about. Back in the day, my challenges were very different. You go to the stadium, watchman nahi hai. You go inside, current nahi hai. खेलने के लिए एक player nahi hai, coach nahi hai. This is the kind of fundamental challenges we would have. You go to the track to run. There's a marriage which has happened, so that's closed.
There goes your...
So these were the fundamental challenges.
Yes.
And even when we went out to play for tournaments, India hadn't opened up as an economy. So 91, 92, we were still playing with duck feather shuttlecocks, which were primarily made in Calcutta, which were traveling very different from what a Yonex shuttle would travel. So when we would travel from here, from say Hyderabad to Delhi, it was like a 26, 27-hour journey in second class in AP Express. You go reach Delhi, you stay at Paharganj, you go to Chanikyapuri for the visas. That takes 2-3 days normally.
Yes.
And then you go to Paman Lorry, which was in Ashoka Hotel, for another 2-3 days. So by the time you start from home till you reach the tournament, that itself was an achievement, because you're trying to gather funds, you're trying to hope to get a visa, you're hoping to get an air ticket and an approval. And then by the end of it, somehow you go and reach there. By the time you've reached there, you've not practiced for a week or so. You don't know whether it's the jet lag, whether it's the train journey, or whether it's just the Yonex shuttlecock which travels differently, or the size of the stadium. You just are missing shuttles there, and you're almost becoming like a laughing stock there. So I think that is how this whole journey was. And to add to it, or to see the present scenario then, we had managers, coaches, and players in the team who would literally believe that we need one pair of playing clothes going there and 4 pairs of casual wear, because we are anyway going to play only one match. So
Expecting you to sit outside most of the time.
yeah. So that's how our whole journey was. And so I took one step at a time. There's one incident which I still remember. 1991, I was the youngest member of the squad which went to Malaysia. This was the Hotel Emerald. All of us lost in the first round. The typical joke then was morning show ya matinee. So by first show, we were all done. So we all lost our matches. We were sitting down in a group. We were about 18 of us. And everybody was praising the Chinese, the Indonesians, the Malaysians, the Danes. Some were saying, "Itna zor se maar raha tha, hame dikha nahi." Somebody is saying, "Chod, mere ko shuttle nahi dikh raha, mere ko aadmi nahi dikh raha tha." So that's the kind of conversations we were having. And I was the youngest of them. And somehow that day I got up and said, "Main jeet ke dikhaunga." And everybody pounced on me that day. And everybody pounced on me that day and said, "Bachcha hai, bahut uchak raha hai, jaldi seekh jayega." If I'm proud of something, it's the fact that I had the kid in me alive after many, many losses, after many falls, because 1994, when I was playing at the National Games in Pune, I was the number 1 in the country. I had reached the finals of the men's singles. I had also reached the semi-finals of the men's doubles. Having to play the finals of the men's singles in the evening, and I was playing the semi-finals of the doubles, I was moving backwards. My partner, Vijay Raghavan, was moving sideways. Both of us collided.
Yeah.
And I actually, he jumped and landed on my foot, and I tore the anterior cruciate ligament of my left knee. It took me almost a year to come back because the ACL tear and the surgery were pretty new back then, 30
Yep.
years ago. The surgery was very, very new. I had a great doctor called Dr. Ashok Rajgopal in Delhi, who was probably one of the 2 surgeons or 3 surgeons in the country who were doing this kind of surgery at that time. So he managed to put my leg together, and then a year later I started to play better and win again. But then 2 years later, or 1996, I had another fall and another surgery. I came back again, had another fall again 2 years later in 1998. And luckily, between the years 1998 to 2001, I didn't have many injuries. And that's when I won a Commonwealth medal or the Asian Championship or the All England. So that's how this whole journey was. And in 2002, actually, over the years, my right side was being put under tremendous pressure. And my right foot started to give away with a plantar fascia first, then a metatarsal, then 3 metatarsals of my right foot got broken trying to fix one. I was putting pressure on the other. And then an ankle stress fracture. And finally, in 2002, I had a right knee surgery because of overuse, because I was put too much pressure on my right knee over time to compensate. And then that's when I decided to stop playing and start coaching.
So stop there, sir. I just want to, because there's so much you've said that I want to explore also. Just at the beginning, you're dealing with some very low expectations. Nobody expects anything of badminton in India. There is no infrastructure. And yet there is a day you're sitting amongst your peers, seniors, and you're pretty convinced you're going to win. So I think as destiny clearly plays a role. But what was going on in your mind in those formative years? When you see there is no infra, there is no expectation, what took you to that point? It had to be something about you, sir. And a lot of these people are in a different domain running through those same kind of issues. So
sounds strange in a way when I say it, because today I can say it very clearly. It was pride. At every point in life, because when I lost a match, I would go, and this is like, I would go to big tournaments and crowds would laugh at you because you're missing shuttles, literally. And you were like a novice playing the sport who have never kind of connected. And these are big crowds, 5,000, 10,000 people, and they're like literally laughing on your face. And then you start feeling the hurt.
Yep.
You see the look of your opponent and when he's like, come on, this is like nobody kind of a thing. That hurts you. Somehow I was also born at a time when the first child was and it sounds a little strange when I say this, but my mom would always say this when I was born, that the first child is for the family and the second child is for the country. And I was supposed to be that person who was supposed to go to the army at that time, because it was the time of the war. After the war, that kind of sentiment was there. So somewhere probably that always stuck with me. So when I played an English guy from England, in my mind I'm thinking, these guys have ruled us for 200 years.
Okay.
I have to get back at them. Like, no way I'm going to lose to them. These fellows. So somewhere, I think those elements truly helped. Because when pride is hurt, personal, community, or country, or anything, I think that's the only time you're punching above your weight.
Yep.
And that is the time when you don't think about anything but of the facilities, but you're just going out and saying, I will kind of get it, because you're just hurt from inside. So there are a lot of other things around it. I would say that I love the sport. I loved the ethic of the sport, the focus which the sport brought to me. But I think the winning part, primarily, I would still go back and say it is pride.
Superb. Simply astounding. So maybe I'll ask you to start again now from where you left off. Here's this injury. You're kind of, it's abrupt for you. It may happen over a period of time, but not the ending you were looking for. And then I think most astonishingly for me, your story goes in a completely different direction. You talk about that now.
For me, when I was playing, and we would always like my life was, I don't say it was tough, but it was, from the outside, when you look at it, when I talk about it, I would have to say get up at 4:30 in the morning every day, study loudly for 1 hour so that my mom could hear in her bedroom. And then if she continuously listens to me, then at 5:30 I can go to the stadium. And I continued to be very disciplined all through my playing career. And all of our dream was that one day, if we make it big, if we win an All England World Championships or an Olympics, then we would get up at 8 in the morning, have filter coffee, read newspaper, then go to work at 11 and finish by 2 and come back, have a nap and play golf in the evening. So that's how when we would friends sit down when we were, say, 22, 23, we would decide that this is how I would want my life to be. Because I've really worked hard for many years, and if we make it big, this is how I want my life to be. Strangely, it just, of course, didn't work out that way. What happened is, around 2001, 2002, I traveled a lot. I worked with many coaches, learned a lot from trial and error, and I'd experienced and tried everything possible: diet, food, mindset, training habits, game style. And I was like, by the end of 2000, 2001, I was like, boss, I know what it takes to be a champion. So I know this. This is the food, this is the mindset, this is the training regimen. If you do these things, you're done with it. This is the formula. But unfortunately, not long, I had the body to use that formula. And then once I kind of was in 2002, I could see that I went to the stadium because that's the only place which I knew for all my childhood. So I went to the stadium. If my body was not hurting, I would play. If it was hurting, I would coach. Slowly, the days I played became lesser, and the days I coached became more. And in 2003, I took a bunch of young kids and started coaching them, saying that I know the formula, I don't have the body, you have the bodies, let's come together and figure this out. And in 2004, I played a certain tournament. This was the Asian Championships. In my biodata, you'll have that tournament as well. I played that tournament and I won that tournament. And I beat a few of the players whom I was coaching. That night, the coach in me was upset that I won. The player in me was happy I won. The emotion on court was terrible because the player in me wanted me to win. The coach in me wanted me to lose. And that day, whole night I couldn't sleep, and that next day morning when I got up, I decided I'll never compete again in my life. And that's the day I retired from playing. And I started coaching full time, knowing well that these kids could benefit from me better than me playing.
Yep.
And out of that bunch of kids, Parupalli Kashyap was the oldest of them. He was about 16. We had players like Guru Saidat, who was the Commonwealth bronze medalist. Kashyap was a gold medalist. Sai Praneeth, who won the 2019 World Championships bronze medal. There was Saina.
Yep.
Saina was about 13 then. and Sikki Reddy, Sumit, Tarun, and Sindhu was the youngest of them at 9. Almost about 10 of them from that first group of 2004 April have played top 20 in the world.
And that's why I think, and that's where I think rightfully you have this reputation for having put Indian badminton on the map, right?
Also, it didn't happen by choice. The choice was still to play golf.
I still think you made small choices every day, right?
So then what happened is, I realized very quickly that if I have to celebrate Ramzan, Diwali, Christmas, Dashara, and Saturday and Sunday, and public holidays, we're never going to become players.
Yep.
So it was important for me that the infrastructure was in my control. So I said we should build infrastructure. In the first year of coaching, what had happened was I took the government stadium. And in that stadium, I employed a foreign coach, and I would come at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then after about 10 months, the government decided not to fund it. So the coach was gone, and I said, okay, I will come and coach. Then one player started doing better, and two, then they wanted special attention. So I started coming at 7 o'clock. Then 3 players started, then I coming at 6 o'clock. Then 4 started, then I came at 5. So literally between that time till 2020 January, I had every day when I have been in Hyderabad, even if I reached at 1 in the morning or 12 in the night, it doesn't matter. I would be present at a 4:15 session for all the time for the last, say, 14 years. That's how it is. So that's how this thing started. So it's not that I imagined or done this, but the players needed me to build infrastructure, so I went and built infrastructure. I would go open the stadium. We didn't have a trainer, so I would become the trainer. We didn't have a physio, so I would end up being a physio. I would be a guardian, taking them out, ensuring that they slept on time, got up on time. So everything was dependent on the players. And the more I looked at them, I was so involved with them that whatever they needed, it was important for me to fetch. And I kind of became that person or the enabler for that. Not that I had an interest to become the coach or I had a vision to become the coach, but I just love these players. They belonged to me. So whatever they needed me to become, I became. So I became an administrator. We organized tournaments. I became a coach, thanks to the players. Nothing which I had is an interest in per se, but I was ready to learn and adapt. That was important.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm going to ask that we find the mic should find its way to the folks that want to ask questions. I'll try and get one question in the middle, sir. When we were talking to you just before you came in, I was thinking and I explored it with you too, right? What does it take to create champions, right? And you've done so many of them, and Saina and Sidhu are, of course, clearly in the mind's eye of a lot of people. I was looking it up in other fields, right? And in medicine, they have this concept of standard of care. So they train everybody, so this is standard of care. Now it turns out if you do standard of care, everybody's the same. That's the average. Clearly that doesn't work. You can't create champions if everybody's at the same level. What is it that you do that makes them different?
See, my perception of sport has also changed quite a bit over time. I think I would be very, to be honest, if I had a group of, say, this 2 benches, and if I had, say, 20 people sitting, my eye would be like, where is the talent? And I would just pick those kids who are talented and be after them insanely, to the point that I would know what they're eating, what time they're sleeping, who they're talking to, micromanage their lives to a lot of time. and then get into their heads and get performance. That's how things have been. And some of the qualities which I think have really helped me assess those points were your ability to love what you do, the physical characters which are required for the sport, and the ability to turn around. You are afraid, you're fearful, you're kind of very nervous about it, and you messed up in the middle, but somehow in the end you kind of make things happen. I think these are a few of those qualities which I think are important in my thinking of picking those people. So this is how I would really look at it. But having said that, and to be honest, this is how I've lived my entire life, with that single particular focus. Where is the talent? Where is the talent kind of a mindset. Till a time a small kid of 13 asked me a particular question which changed my very perception and mindset of this. And this I'll just take 2 minutes
Yeah,
to
of course.
kind of explain this. This is about 2015, around the same time, summer coaching camp. I was throwing shuttles to all the kids to catch and throw back. One of the kid dropped a shuttle from 5 feet away. And I was like, come on, you need to be focused better. You need to focus better. And she was like, okay, sir. And then I threw the next one and she fumbled. And I said, come on, you need to be better off next time in class. Be concentrated. I said, and I moved out. She came back to me and said, sir, teach me how to catch after the session. And that singular question changed a lot of things in my mind. To make champions, to go after that one person is very, very important. If I pick the one kid out of here, what is the mindset of the 9 other kids who are left behind? And that started to bother me. So when I talk about talent, I cannot not talk about this experience, because in our mindset, we are saying, if I pick one, what about the rest of the 9? It's great for the one, but what about the confidence of the other 9? If all 10 of them were my own kids, will I behave in the same way? And that started to bother me, and that started to question a lot of things in sport itself. To the point where when somebody says talent and stuff, I'm saying, boss, don't use the word talent identification. Maybe we need to look at it from the word talent mapping, and probably believe that every kid in the group is talented, and it is my job as a parent, as a teacher, as a society, as a manager, as a corporation, to find out where that talent is. And I think that leaves the focus from them being good or bad to us, and me being the person who's taking the onus to find out where that talent is. That human element is very, very important.
So you're not even building them in your own image. You're looking at their image and building them to be the best they can be, I think. Superb.
And one of the things I've really realized in the last few years of coaching players and stuff is, we are all here, honestly, God's grace, destiny, there's a bit of luck. Even the thought that I need to work hard, I need to get up in the morning is given by God himself, or nature, or whatever that force is. So how can you say that it's me who has that thought?
Correct.
So I think a lot of this is destiny, and we just have to flow with whatever is the path, be humble about it, and realize that there is a possibility that we are underachieving. So if you have an opportunity to go all the way, then be brave enough to go all the way. The person who has a chance to be a world champion 10 times, if he achieves to be a world champion 9 times, that should be considered a failure for him. But if somebody has a potential to be a district champion 1 time, and if he achieves this, he has to be considered a success. The process is the king. The result is not the king. We get too much of importance to the result. It's time we need to move away from it and start looking at building processes which are fantastic. And this reminds me of the words of J.R.D. Tata. He said, a nation doesn't become great by removing poverty. It becomes great when the talented few get an opportunity to shine and become the best in the world. I think if some of us has that potential to make something iconic and to be the biggest, the best in the world, I think our mindset should not stop us from doing it. And that would be very, very important.
I think there's at least 6 founders today that are taking that to heart very much. Questions, anybody? I think yeah.
Hi, Coach. Pleasure. I have been playing badminton since 2015. Wake up at 5:30 in the morning, on the court at 6. What I see is there are kids who are 4 years, 5 years, to up to 15 years old. Every single morning they are there. When I would say 90% of the country is sleeping, these kids are already there or at the court. 5:30 in the morning, there are 3 coaches, 5 courts on which they get to play. These kids, we are playing on a separate court, but we see them training. What do you see? Obviously, I see one part of Bangalore in Whitefield, one court. You obviously get to see the entire country. Obviously, the potential of this game in the country is huge when I see these kids growing up and playing. What is your thought in terms of where is this sport going from here on?
I think, just to put things in perspective for many of them who don't know the sport, we had a tournament in 2008 in Maharashtra, the state championships, where we had 6 teams compete in the doubles event, which had to be cancelled because if you don't have 6 teams, then you can't conduct the tournament. Today, we have tournament of all India level where there are 3,500 entries coming for each event. So the sport has actually boomed, in the sense it's just gone crazy. So I think there's a lot which is going, but think about the probability of you becoming a champion. 1 national champion, 1 world level athlete, or 3 or 2 or 4. So you're looking at failure rates immense. It's like 99% failure rate for sure, kind of a thing. If 3,500 kids are playing in a tournament, 1 guy is winning, he'll be noted. Maybe the runner-up is noted, or the semi-finals. At the end, 4 or 8 people are noted in 3,500. So the number of people who are losing in sport is super high. So we have, unfortunately, some champions, as kids aspiring to become like them, parents wanting to invest them into them, and then everybody takes the sport up at the same time, not thinking what the consequences are. So we are actually like how cities are built in India, in the sense the city grows, then we are thinking where the roads are, where the drainage is, where the water is. That's how we are thinking. So in a similar way, the growth has happened. Coaches are not there, ecosystem is not there, but the growth of the sport is. I think it's time for us to kind of get to a level where we look at sports benefits differently. In sense, and this is when I'm talking about sport, I would say talk about winners, champions, all of it. But think of sport realistically. Since if a kid who's 10 years old, is there another profession other than sport which teaches you how to lose, or which teaches you how to handle defeat?
Or play in a team.
Play in a team. Mm-hmm. Nothing. In the sense, you go to school every day. Even if you fail, the teacher is not going to tell that this kid has failed. You will probably know that 1 kid in the school has failed. So everybody protects failure in other fields, but in a sporting field, literally the kid is in front of people. He is saying publicly that you're a failure. And he still has to go out there and next day morning and try to win again and again. So imagine the kind of confidence which sport gives. And that is why we should actually play sport. So I think if we start looking at the benefits of sport, whether it's team spirit, whether it's learning to handle defeat, or whether to go out there and think for yourself. You're going out there thinking like, come on, Gopi, I need to fight, I need to push back, I need to come on. You're just talking to you. And any other field, you would think you're a crazy guy. So you're able to do that. To be disciplined, to get up at 5:30 in the morning, to focus on your food. I think these are invaluable lessons for life, which are very, very important. And that's the reason why we should play sport. So I see the sport going up. I see these numbers really doing well. But a lot of work needs to happen at the top in the system building stage. And I'm hoping that we all come together as a nation to do that, because that's also been our weakness. Individually, we've been great, but when we have to build systems and processes, not been great. Systems, infrastructure, support systems, or support staff, and policy all have to go hand in hand. And let's see how the next few years hold.
Thank you for that. Maybe one last question. There's no clock here, so I might keep going. Maybe one last question, short one. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for candidly sharing your thoughts and your journey. There are a lot of insights into that. And I would like to ask you a question as a coach. You see so many talented players and a lot of potential around you. And only a few win, as you just highlighted, so many thousand playing, and only one is going to be a winner. What is your observation on what transforms potential to a performance? What makes a winner out of potential?
I think at various levels, people stop. People are satisfied with growth. Somebody is happy with the first job. A lot of them very happy, first job, first bike, first car, and then they're just super happy. With one tournament, they're like, I kind of figured it out. They're not pushing far enough. So I think the people who are hungry after they are successful, people who look for excellence even after going up there, I think those are the ones who are important. People who are ready to be uncomfortable and do things which are right rather than things which they can do or which they want to do, but do the right thing, even if it's uncomfortable for a long period of time. Those are the people who differentiate these winners. People who bounce back immediately after losses with a smile and energy and enthusiasm, saying that I will learn from my mistakes and push again, those are the ones who are going to be successful. So it's a kind of a thing which is very important. When you go out at the various stages of the sport, hand-eye coordination being the first, I'll run through this a little faster, maybe leg movement secondly. Third thing is your ability to find weaknesses and in the opponent's court and exploit them. The fourth thing would be that when you go out to a tournament and you go to a foreign country, how much you stay focused, putting all distractions to the side. When you have lots of money, how you put those things and focus on the jobs to be done. When your opponents read your weaknesses or situations are there which need you to change your very fundamental nature. I've worked like this for 15 years. I know the stroke has won me thousands of matches, but today the same stroke is a problem for me. I need to change that. So how well you're able to adapt and change your fundamentals, those things, and how you're able to continuously lose, but you want to overturn it. I think these are the things which actually make that little bit of a difference, which people like, say, a Lindan or a Federer or a Nadal, these are the ones who are actually talking that. Because everybody in the top 50 probably has the ability to break it further. But that needs consistent discipline over years of time, and forgetting all problems and focusing on the one job which needs to be done, irrespective of what's happening in family, what's happening in your mind, what has happened yesterday. But just go push through that emotion and get things done. I think those are the people who are going to be really successful, and that's what we're really looking for.
So I think we'll call it quits with that, sir. If I had to just summarize, I think the two things, I walked into this wanting to kind of walk away with what is it that really changed Indian badminton. From today, what I can tell you is, I think you're telling us that there was this one moment, I think, in your life where you figured you'd mastered the formula, right? You'd mastered the formula and you figured that you're going to find a way to apply that formula to a next generation of champions. And I think the other one was that pivotal moment when you realized that to be a coach, you have to create room for others to win, right? As opposed to being competitive. And I think that's astounding. And so no wonder where we are here today, where we are. Thank you so much for it. I think we're going to ask you to stay. We are just going through the award ceremony also. We'll have you kind of participate in that. Before you leave, sir, I'd like to just give you a small...
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause for Coach Pullela Gopichand. A big round of applause for Gopichand, sir. And for Ravi, sir, as well, for taking us through this fantastic session. And as a token of our appreciation, we'd like to give a small gift to
He
sir.
wants a picture. And he wants it here. Yeah. So. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.